I mentioned earlier the incident where, kids do some malicious things. And one of the things that I'd indicated earlier that happened was when somebody stole 5 left shoes from girls in the girls' dressing room after PE. I take that kind of thing seriously. In fact, I always thought that as a principal I was expected to be a pretty good cop, investigator. In trying to solve that matter of where those shoes went, I looked everywhere, including I put some old shoes in my car and put them on, and I waded the creek, thinking, yeah, that's what they did. They threw those shoes in the creek and I'll find them. Didn't find them. Well, I think maybe this other thing I'm going to talk about was not as malicious, or maybe it was worse. It certainly depended upon whether it's your shoes that are being stolen or your car that is, you think, being damaged. The curriculum was being expanded. We got a new teacher on board, a teacher of French. And she had a very fine, big automobile, a convertible. But it had seen better days. And I guess probably the heat in the summer and the cold in the winter. Maybe it hadn't been garaged a good bit of its life. I don't know. But the top wasn't in very good shape, and so she was a very, very happy teacher. She had 2 or 3 kids, and she was, she needed a warm and dry car. So she was pretty excited the day that she drove up to school in a brand new Volkswagen. And I can't remember whether it was the very first week or not, but she hadn't been driving it to school very long when some boys, she was a strict teacher, she probably had maybe bugged these boys, or they tried to bug her. You never know, what the background is. But some boys went out and did something to her car. The way I found out about it was after school, maybe 20, 30 minutes after you think everybody's left, and boy, she came in, and obviously these boys not only had done something to her car, they had hung around to watch the fun. And she brought, 1 or 2 or 3, at least a couple, in, and I could tell she had the culprits in hand and that something was wrong, and she was very upset. These boys have damaged my car. Well, she wants me to do something, and I'm trying to find out what is it they have done. She said, they have damaged my car. Well, one of the boys was not too upset, and he kept trying to tell her that they hadn't really damaged her car, and to tell me, Mr. Riggs, we really haven't done anything that much to her car. We haven't really damaged her car. Whoa, she wasn't having any of that. And, I couldn't make any sense out of what was going on, so I finally asked her to please sit down. I don't think she did. And wait a minute while I go out and look at your car. And I took the boy that was trying to tell me there wasn't anything really wrong with me. His name was Rick. Very sensible, very, very nice boy that you wouldn't expect to be involved in anything malicious. And as we go out there, he said, Mr. Riggs, we have a Volkswagen, and what she's saying is that we, in moving her car, have dropped it and broken the wheels. What do you mean, broken the wheels? Because, I'm looking at the car, I don't see anything wrong with it. Well, as we get out there, he shows me the thing of it is that, I can't remember if it was front wheels or back wheels, maybe it was all of them, but at least one set of wheels didn't set straight. They were canted a bit. What do you mean there's nothing wrong with those? Wheels don't look right. Well, he said, we have a Volkswagen, and when we take it in for service and they put it up on the lift, when they put it down, those wheels on ours look like that. But it's something about the way they're made, because he said, Dad just gets in and drives off, and when he stops at the next place, the wheels are straight as ever. Okay, but it wasn't just that the wheels were strange. They had picked that car up. I don't know how many boys it takes to pick a Volkswagen up, but they had picked that car up and I can't remember if they squeezed it tight between two other cars or moved it around in front of a car, but they'd actually moved that car around. So I go back in, I'm trying to explain to Mrs. Dix what the boy has told me, and she doesn't want to hear it. She can see it's broken, and she doesn't want me accepting any con job from a kid. Well, eventually I convinced her. Let me stand behind the car, and you back it up and then run it forward and let me watch. But to tell you the truth, I couldn't see whether or not the wheels straightened up. Probably didn't have her go far enough. But she did agree that there weren't any strange sounds and it seemed to move all right, and that she would take it down the hill. And right at the foot of the hill where Evergreen Jr. was the main street of Evergreen, and you just barely turned the corner at the light and there was a service station, and she took it down there. Well, I take the boy back in, get a list of names from him as to who else was involved, tell him I'll be seeing you tomorrow, go home, tell your parents what went on. Both boys. Well, the next morning she comes in and she admits that the wheels were okay now. But she was just as mad as ever and still wanted a lot done, and I don't remember what I did. And I hope and think that overall, eventually, the teacher did forgive me for not being more excited and not taking more blood from these kids than I did. I probably gave them a swat or two. I don't really remember. They shouldn't have been messing around. They were completely out of line. Whew, was I glad for them, for the teacher, and for the parents of those boys, that indeed there's something about Volkswagen wheels that looks pretty odd after it's been lifted off the ground, but not a thing wrong with them. When you get them down and start running, they line right back up the way they're supposed to be. I don't know if these new Volkswagen Bugs are still that way or not. Haven't known anybody close enough to ask that's got one of the new ones.